Okay, I want to welcome everybody to the Entrepreneur Show featuring Dr. Gayle Carson, writer, speaker, business expert, and my hero or heroine. I absolutely adore this woman, and I'm so delighted to have you on the show. And I just wanted to say thank you for being with us today, Dr. Gayle.
No, I appreciate you asking me. It's an honor.
Well, it's an honor to have you. You know, we go back, way before the Golden Mouse Awards, which is, by the way, I wanted to mention, I'm going to ask Dr. Gayle to talk about herself for those of you who are listening and watching. However, I wanted to just mention briefly that she was the recipient of the Golden Mouse Lifetime Achievement Award last year by the Women in E-Commerce. And so what we're doing with this program currently is we're interviewing all of our current and past recipients and just trying to find some great tips about how they manage their business, how they got to where they are today. And we have some great questions for you, Dr. Gayle. And the first one is for you to please tell us a little bit about yourself, about your company, what you do.
Well, now I primarily work with women over 50. There's a lot of things I do at the current time. I have radio shows. I'm starting my own radio network this month. So I'm having a lot of hosts who are over 50 who want to have their own show. And so that's something I'm doing. I'm starting SOB clubs, Spunky Old Broad clubs around the country, and still coaching women and speaking on the subject.
Excellent. And yes, and I know you from being a professional speaker and a business consultant and trainer, etc. So it's so nice to see that you continue to reinvent yourself, so to speak. And I love this Spunky Old Broads. And I want to say hi to those of you who are watching on Periscope, because we're actually doing a Periscope simultaneously. So, you might as well use all the mediums you have at your disposal when you can, and I believe in that, and it's a great way to actually teach other people how to do the same. So tell us, Dr. Gayle, why you started Spunky Old Broads, and why would anybody want to be called an SOB in the first place? Love that.
I'm not a newcomer, as everybody can tell. I had my first business for 21 years and built it from 0 to 7 offices and 350 people. Then I went into speaking full time and spoke in 50 countries and 49 states. And then, of course, 9/11 happened. The industry changed. I started my own association. And then when I came up for air, after all of this was done, I thought, well, who am I now and where am I now? And I was seeing a lot of people who were 50 and just had given up and said, is this all there is? And so I decided that there's a lot more for you. I always say that women are like fine wine. Unlike men, they get better and bolder with age.
I love that. You know what? You're
that's
right.
Why I started it, because I really wanted people to know there's a whole life after 50. And if somebody doesn't want to be called a spunky old broad, and I am the spunky old broad, I say that SOB stands for spunky, open, and brave. But if somebody doesn't like the adage of spunky old broad, then they're not for me, they're not for our group.
You bring up a good point, because I think that one of the things as smart marketers, we know who our audiences are. And so you're not going after the 37, 47-year-old. You're going after the over 50, mature, finely seasoned, experienced woman who may just be at a pivotal point in her life and wants to just see how much more she can get out of it. Or she has this new vision and wants to figure out how to recreate herself, if you will. That's kind of how I see.
And since I am the original SOB, I always say, I just coached a woman, and I don't really know how old she is, because I do coach women who are not 50. And I was coaching her, and I really gave it to her the way it was. And I said, look, if you want me as a coach, you're not going to get somebody who strokes your ego. I'm going to tell you the way it is. We're going to accomplish something, and you're either going to do it or you're not. So if you don't want to hire me as a coach, then don't do it. Because I'm all about you progressing to where you need to be.
And, that's so true. And I think anybody who hires a coach that just wants to hear what they want to hear it's just throwing money away, first of all. First of all, that coach is not any good, in my opinion. But that's a whole nother topic. So let's move on. So you've had some pretty amazing publicity over the years, and including recently with Wake Up America and Studio 10 TV and more. What did you do to get that kind of media attention? And in the second part of that question is, what are some of the ways you are promoting your new groups around the country?
Well, of course, our press releases is a very important way. Social media is an important way. But one of the reasons that I started doing television really was to promote the SOB clubs, but also to promote the image of the SOB, to get women over 50 awakened to the fact that, if they keep moving, if they keep doing, if there's lots of opportunity out there for them. And most of the series that I did were on those 3 worst mistakes to make when starting a second career. So it was a lot of that kind of thing. I did some, workout videos and things like that on TV and so forth. But how I got it was I did take some media training, even though I was experienced in media. I still took media training. And then what I did was I called and contacted segment producers all over the country. And then if I was going to a particular city to do a speech or a program of some sort, I would contact the local stations and see if I could sell them on having me on. And you only get 3 minutes. I mean, 5 minutes is a long time. So it's 3 to 5 minutes. But again, you can get those clips, you can put them on your website, and you can also put together a sizzle reel from it, which is what gives you more publicity and more promotion.
And being able to say you were on all those media gives you incredible, as you said, credibility in terms of your target audience, because people think, I know, we're kind of, we are enamored of the media, and we're enamored of people who are in the media. That's why celebrities are so popular. So you're a celebrity because what I've heard, the definition of a celebrity is a person that people know that they don't know them. So I think that, you're the perfect example. You're obviously one of the top in your industry. For years I've known you, and you've been in management and marketing and leadership, and probably one of the top 5 people whose name comes up consistently, even today, in those areas. So even though you've started Spunky Old Broad, and what was the other term for Spunky Old Broad, the SOB? Smart?
Spunky, open, and brave.
Spunky, open, and brave. I really like that as opposed to... I don't like the word old, even though I am an SOB. I like because I don't think of myself as old. I think of my mind as never stops. I feel like I'm still, maybe not 20. I've got a lot more experience and maturity, but certainly the creativity is still there. So, and I think you're speaking to me and the women that are in my age and the type of things that we've accomplished and still have to accomplish. So thank you for that. So I understand that you have a new webinar course coming up. Can you tell us about it?
Well, it's my happiness, with my health, wealth, and happiness system, and that's what it is. And it shows everybody how to live a better life, a healthier life, a wealthier life, and a joyful life. Because I find that so many people, we all go through, what shall I use the word crap? We all go through crap. And it's not really what happens to us, but it's how we deal with what happens to us. And I think a lot of people, especially when they get to over 50 and they've been through hell and back, they just lose their joy. And I know that I felt that way for a few months, and I thought, I need to put more joy in my life. How do I do it? And so I started practicing, I call them my 9 secrets to living regret-free. And then everybody would say to me, why are you always so happy? And I would say, well, what's your choice? I mean, you were either happy or you were sad. I'd much rather be happy. So, and I found that really that has not only allowed me to live a better life, but a healthier life, because when you are happy, your body is happy. And so you're able to repel a lot of the things that come to you. And there's another thing that's part of that too, and I have to say, I call it prevention. And the reason I say that is, well, this is breast cancer month, and I'm a 3-time survivor. I've had 16 surgeries.
Wow.
All of them were discovered with mammograms. That's called prevention. And then I also got a shingles shot, and everybody has seen all those commercials with Terry Bradshaw for shingles, but I can tell you, I did get shingles. But because I had the shot, it was so minimal that within, first of all, it was just itching. It was not painful at all, just itching. I took Benadryl, I put calamine lotion on it, and within almost 10 days, the whole thing was gone.
Wow.
So that's why I just say prevention. I mean, I've had my pneumonia shot, so prevention is the key to everything. Get your skin checked, get you checked, and all of that is part of health, wealth, and happiness.
I totally agree, and I think I love the saying that most people are about as happy as they make up their minds to be. And very young because I had a challenging upbringing, as a lot of us have had. Not probably an Oprah story, but not one that I want to dwell on. And it's just funny. I just decided when I became an adult that I wasn't going to dwell on it, and I was going to live life in the moment and be happy about every moment that I could. And, sometimes people think that I'm up to something because I seem to be happy all the time. But you're right. I'm also extremely healthy. I think that makes a big difference. I think your mental attitude has a lot to do with your physical condition, if you will, which is why a lot of people have stress. I am actually I tell people I'm a carrier of stress, but I don't get it. I probably give it to people more, but I certainly don't get it. So, just great. How are you going to deliver that course, by the way? Is it going to be like a weekly, people join in a webinar? How's that going to be?
Well, I've got a couple of different things. That particular webinar will be online. People can join the webinar. We'll be sending out a link to it, or if they want to subscribe to it, and there's no cost for the webinar, so they can subscribe to it. They can just send me an email at Gayle, and that's Gayle, Gayle Carson 13 at gmail.com, and we'll let them know when the webinar will be on, and then they can link to it. So that's number one. The other thing is I've started a coaching program. There are a lot of people that want to hire me as a coach, but they can't afford to hire me as a coach. So I've implemented a very easy 52-week program, got workbooks, got PowerPoint, got everything, and they can just do it for a couple $100 a month. So there's a couple of different ways that they can get involved with it.
And that course, is it like a virtual course, or is that like a live training where you get on the phone, or you do like a Zoom or something?
Well, it's a virtual course, but every one of my people who do it will also get a one a month call with me where they can ask any question that they want. Now, everybody will ask different questions, and everybody will be at a different point, but everybody benefits from everybody else's questions all the time. So that's the important thing. I think it's important when one person asks a question, someone else has the same question on their mind.
Oh, that's so true. And that's true in almost any aspect of business or life. So I think that's a valuable resource and tool. So these will be the replays will be available for people who can't join the live. Absolutely. As well. Okay, great. And are you delivering that through a website or?
Well, it'll be on my website. It'll be on my website.
On the spunkyoldbroad.com.
Broad.com.
Got it. Okay, good. Well, it's good to know, because part of this whole thing when we do these interviews is we want people to see how we are promoting and projecting and managing our business. And by giving those little tips, there may be someone else who might have a similar idea and want to do a coaching program, and then they don't really know where to start or how to start. So you're providing another valuable service in showing people how you are positioning your expertise. And you know what? There's another saying, I can't recall it exactly, but it has to do with the fact that it's difficult to make a killing or make a lot of money one-on-one, but when you and also touching the lives of many, when you're is probably in our type of business as professional speakers, why I think we get into that business is that we are working with a lot of different people, and I think that's just such a wonderful thing, because so many people then now have access to you that wouldn't have access. And of course the internet's changed the whole playing field to begin with. So what are some of the steps involved and the tools that you use to create your webinar service or your webinar program?
Well, as far as the tool I use, it's Webinar Jam.
Oh, wonderful. Webinar Jam.
Yeah, I'm using Webinar Jam, and that's the main tool I use for the webinars. And in terms of everything else, it just depends on who I'm working with. I'm doing a global women's program, and I'm speaking to the subject of mentorship. And that's going to be this month as well. And I'm using their platform for that. So, it's just like I'm using this with you today for the first time. I had never even heard of it before. So it's whatever presents itself to me, I try to learn it and try to do it. And I am a technophobe. I mean, you Heidi, are unreal. I mean, you know everything about everything.
I don't. But I'm willing to learn. There's a difference. I'm not a technophobe because I'm willing to learn, but I definitely don't know everything about everything. But I have my go-to people too, you know.
Well, and so as I need it, that's how I learn it.
And you know what? What is great about you and women like us is that we are not afraid of it. We allow it to kind of come into our lives. Now, if it works for us, if it doesn't, fine. I remember when teleseminars were really popular. Man, I must have done 250 of those. And then what happened was I kind of got bored with it. But it was still a great technology because it was really kind of before GoToWebinar and all of those webinar platforms really took off and were user-friendly. Because at first, a lot of those webinar programs were so difficult to do. You could never, I was just, and I'm not a tech person. I can learn how to use technology, but if when it comes to fixing it or anything, people call me up and say, oh, I'm having a problem, I can't figure out this on my, I'm like, no, you need to call my tech guy because that's not what I do. I'm a marketer like you, Gayle. I'm a marketer, a business owner, and I can show people the tools that are available to use, which is why I asked you what tool you're using, because Webinar Jam is one I'm familiar with, but I've never used. I use Zoom.us, and now I'm using Blab. I don't know if I'll ever go back to anything else, because right now Blab is like the hottest thing, you know, and I like being an early adopter, and you really are an early adopter, because there are still a lot of people who have never heard of this. So even though they've got, I don't know, what I hear, 15 million people are already on Blab. Pretty amazing considering Twitter took over a year to get to 1 million. And in 4 short months, they've, you know, done 15 times that, 5 short months.
More and more used to technology, too.
That's true. That's
you know,
true.
More and more people have every kind of tablet or mobile device that you could possibly imagine. And for instance, my radio shows, I reach 180,000 people. And yet, I would say, I think the statistics came back that 72% of them listen to it either on a tablet or some
right, mobile device, absolutely. And a lot of people will watch this on their mobile device, on their smartphone or tablet or something. So you're absolutely right. And I think that the thing is that the big challenge I see with all of this technology is it's the shiny object syndrome. And I'll give you myself as an example. 3 weeks ago or a month ago or so, I got on Periscope. I didn't know about Blab. I'd heard of it, but I like, okay, Blab, okay. I didn't like the name, so I'm thinking I'm never going to go there, right? And then someone invited me to come to a Blab show, and I'm like, oh my God, you know, hi Periscope, I love you folks. However, what I love about this is not only do they record the program and send you the recording, they send you the video, the audio, you can upload it to YouTube, you can repurpose the content in any way you want. With Periscope, you get the video, but it only stays on their site for 24 hours. This stays on, the replays stay on for I don't know how long, so I'll have to find that out. But right now, all of mine are still on here. And I think that, you know, as these things evolve, then the next person to come along just improves it more. So it just makes it easier for us as users. And this is probably I have found Blab to be easier than Periscope, because Periscope, there's a lot of little nuances. First of all, you can only do it on your phone right now, where this could be on a phone, a computer, a tablet, whatever. So there, you know, there's different levels of technology, and the whole challenge, again, like I said at the beginning, was probably the shiny object syndrome. A lot of people are looking for the next shiny object. I'm still trying to figure out the first shiny object, because I want to master it. You know, I don't want to just learn it. I want to master it.
Well, last night I flew into San Diego. That's where I'm talking to you now from. And the people opposite from me in the 3 seats to the left, one was on a smartphone watching, I don't know, movie or TV show. Another was on an iPad watching something, and the other else. And so here you have 3 people who were together. They were people who were together, and they were all watching something different on their own little individual device. And of course, I don't do any of that. I either watch what's playing on the plane if I want to see it, and then or I'm reading, one of the two. So, but it was interesting. I thought, well, that just shows you where everybody is at today.
Yeah, it's true. The only thing I don't like is when you go to a restaurant and everybody's on their phone and nobody's talking to one another. I have my husband and I have a rule: no cell phones at the table.
Well, I
period.
have another rule. When you're walking, please watch where you're going so you don't bump into me. You know,
So true. So true. Yeah, you're right.
it's just amazing. I mean, I've seen people walk into trees. I've seen them walk into holes. I mean, it's amazing. So yeah.
Well, we have to be more like children and look up, because a lot of times as you get older, you look down more. And I've noticed myself doing that a lot more these days. So I'm trying to train myself to look up again, because I've almost run into people when they're riding their bikes and they're on their cell phone or something, and they don't see me, and because I'm looking down, I don't see them until almost the last minute. So, I think it's a common problem, and one that, someone's going to get seriously hurt before they figure it out, or they just become more aware. But those are all good points, Gayle. So I want to talk to you a little bit about the fact that you're a coach and a speaker and an author. So when it comes, and I want to talk more about coaching right now. So when it comes to coaching, tell us who your ideal client is, and how do you help him or her?
Well, my ideal client is someone who needs help either in their business or their personal life. Because I say I reinvent you from the inside out, whether it's personally or professionally. And I have people who I am helping to grow their business through various marketing and selling strategies. I talked to a woman, I think it was Monday or Tuesday, I can't remember which day, and she has a very unusual program. And I said to her, have you ever thought about licensing it or and she just didn't even know about something like that. So I told her, I said, well, if you choose to work with me, this was one of my free strategy calls. I said, if you decide to work with me, I will work with you on those things. I said, but it's not easy, and there's a lot of failing, and you have to look at that. So that's one example. Then I also coached a woman this week who does she earns over, well, I don't know over, but she earns at least $1 million a year. And yet she's one of the most unhappy people. She doesn't have a lot of self-confidence. She doesn't like to be put in front of the public or on stage. When she is introduced, she really kind of shies away from her honors and so forth. So it's from A to Z really, but mostly it's making you create something new, whether it's for yourself individually or for your business.
So give us an example of what they might want to create.
Well, I have one woman who wants to take her business from $500,000 to $2 million. So because she wants to sell it in years, and selling something is far different than if you are the business. You know yourself, Heidi, from being in business so long, that when you are the business, it's very hard to sell it. That business has got to operate without you there, or it's not worth anything. So that's one of the things we're working on with her. With this other woman, she's in the process of deciding whether she wants to sell her business, the one who is in the higher price category. And and one of her problems is not, should I sell it or what am I getting for it, but who am I after I do that?
Right.
And I said, if you don't have a plan for when you so-called retire or make a change, that's when depression sets in, and that's when stress sets in.
Oh, so true. And I think that today, and I don't know if they teach this in the business schools or not, but I think that the most important bit of advice I ever got early on in business was always go into a new business with an exit strategy in mind. Whether that exit strategy is, in 5 years I'm going to make my fortune and then close it, or in 5 years or in 10 years I'm going to, make what I can or build up a great business to sell and make a fortune, whatever that happens to be. So I think, and sometimes, like you said, people don't know. I've run a business. Thank you for the claps. I've run a business for, my florist for 34 years, and I'm at that point in my life. What do I do now? Because I love my business, but I am kind of the face. But the fact is that it's all online now, so I'm not really the face. It's going to be easier to sell in that regard. Plus the fact that it's been online and been in business for 34 years. I've got a solid, strong reputation and track record. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, what am I going to do with myself? So 4 or 5 years ago, I started going full time into the training and consulting and doing more seminars. And as you know, I recently rejoined the Florida Speakers Association simply because I realize that that's really where I need to be. I think I can do the most good. Not that I haven't done good in the floral business, but it's just different. It's a retail business, and it's a wonderful, wonderful feel good at the moment. I'm not sure that you affect people's lives long term, like what we do and what people like us do, in terms of, how we help people, flowers are it's kind of like, they're like it's kind of like eating a really good meal. At the moment, you're so satisfied and you really love it. But then 2 minutes, tomorrow at dinner, you're going to be thinking, now what can I have for dinner today? That dinner was satisfying yesterday, but what about today? And so, thinking about those kind of things in your business really makes you wonder, what do I need to do now to position my company, like you said? And I think having a coach like you is fabulous, Gayle, because there are so many people who have no clue what they're going to do with their next chapter, whether it's their second half of life or they're still in their 20s or 30s, but they're ready to move on,
Well, it's true, and people always say to me, why don't you retire? And I say, to what?
Right. I'm never retiring.
Someone called me yesterday and said, well, what would you like your lifestyle to be? And I said, the way it is right now. I said, I have 3 beautiful places I live in, Palm Springs, San Diego, and Miami Beach. And I said, you can't get any better than that. I usually don't take vacations because I live in the best vacation places in the world.
You're on vacation every day. Me too.
And, some people start a business and they do build it to sell. But I think with you and with me, with our businesses, our original businesses, my first business, I really didn't ever think about selling it. I had it for 21 years before I sold it because it was my baby, and so there are people who don't even think about selling. And when that time comes, and that may come not because of your need, but maybe health reasons or the industry changes or something new comes out that is going to put you out of business or whatever it happens to be, to me it's almost like in fact I can't even, Blockbuster, I couldn't believe that it was sold because I knew that the digital age was here and people were not going to be renting tapes anymore.
Right.
And yet they sold it for a substantial amount of money. So there's things that come into your life that you cannot predict, and you've got to look at that as well.
Right. Oh, kind of like the real estate, what do they call it? The boom and then the bomb that happened around 2008, 2009.
Because, my husband and I invested a lot in real estate, and my husband passed away, and the real estate market busted.
Wow.
Almost simultaneously, and I'm still working through all of those things. So you never know, but you can either get sucked into that or you have to figure out a way to work within it.
And you bring up another valuable point, and I'm again sorry for your loss. I know how hard it was for you when he died, and you've been able to bounce back amazingly and tremendously. And I think that that's a good testament to people. I think that when it comes to grief or anything like that, I know you lost a son, and you've had a tremendous amount of grief and tragedy, and you've triumphed over the whole thing. And I think you're the perfect person to help women, especially in their lives at this point, because a lot of us go through tragedies, and a lot of people don't know how to manage them. They don't know how to handle them. And I'm not saying you don't want to grieve. You do grieve, and if you don't grieve, then you end up having breakdowns and stuff like that. But I think that the process of coming out of it and realizing that you're still here, so what are you going to do with that time while you're here? And I think that you really help and enlighten people and show them that they can maybe still find some joy. Are they ever going to get over it? Probably not. But the fact is that there's so many wonderful things in the world to be grateful for.
Well, first of all, I have to admit, I talk to him every night. And there are things that I do during the day that happen, and I just can hear what he would be saying. He always said to me when I would a red light or something like that, he would always say, what are you waiting for, an invitation? I can hear him saying that when I pull up to a stop sign, And on the other hand, also, that I think that you have to look at is when all of this happens to you, you just have to say, my own son said to me, he said, Mom, I never thought you'd be as strong as you are. He thought I would sell my home and I'd be, out with him in California only. And he said, I cannot believe how strong you are. But the advantage I had, which I talked to probably a half a dozen women in this last month that have not had this situation. And so it's very important to state this. I was fortunate because I was an independent woman. I did everything for myself and by myself while I was married. Yeah. My husband didn't like to travel, and I spoke in 50 countries and 49 states. So I was in Australia 5 times. He came with me twice. He said, that's enough. I don't want to go again. I spoke in Indonesia many times. He came with me twice. That was enough. So, he really didn't care to travel with me. And so I was used to going around the world by myself. I was used to paying my own bills. I was used to making decisions. I handled the finances in our marriage. So there were things that I did that a lot of women never had the opportunity to do, because, at least in our age group, because their spouses either didn't want them to, or they themselves didn't want to do it. And so that was a very big advantage to me. Although I missed him terribly, I'm still doing the things I did because I did them anyway.
Right. Very good point. Very good point. Thank you so much. So I understand, because we're running out of time, believe it or not, we could talk for hours, Gayle, you and I, and I remember when we roomed in, I can't remember where we